In human gestation, the development of the head and neck happens in the 4th and 5th week. During this time, growth of mesenchymal or connective tissue in the cranial region of the embryo results in arches separated by clefts, called pharyngeal arches and pharyngeal clefts, respectively. There are 6 arches. The nerve associated with the 6th arch is the recurrent laryngeal nerve, which branches off of the 10th cranial nerve, also known as the vagus. Its main innervations are the intrinsic muscles of the larynx, which are also formed by the 6th pharyngeal arch. There are also pharyngeal arch arteries present within each pharyngeal arch and make up the whole pharyngeal vascular system. So, to recap, the pharyngeal arch is forming muscles, nerves, and arteries all sort of at the same time. There are obviously a couple other important factors, but that's not the main point here. What is important, however, is that the 6th pharyngeal arch arteries give rise to the ductus arteriosus and pulmonary arteries. This is important because both are in connection to the heart. The ductus arteriosus is a fetal blood vessel that connects the aorta and the pulmonary arteries for lung blood bypass. Now, what's more important is that this close development of the arteries and nerves means that as the neck forms and pushes the head and heart apart, these nerves also get pulled down into the thorax, along with the heart, and stay wrapped around the subclavian artery and the aorta. And this is what forms the U-turn of the recurrent laryngeal nerve. In humans, this U-turn distance is about 10 centimeters, enough to cause curiosity. But in a longer-necked animal like a giraffe, that's 5 meters of supposedly nonsensical nerve. If you want to get really crazy, the sauropod dinosaur, known as the longest ever, the Supersaurus, presumably had a recurrent laryngeal nerve of 14 meters long. 14 meters. So why hasn't evolution selected against this if it is coined as one of nature's worst designs by evolutionary biologists? Well, Jerry Coyne, one of the evolutionary biologists that coined it as nature's worst design, took a stab at this in his book, Why Evolution is True. He says, "Imperfect design is the mark of evolution. In fact, it's precisely what we expect from evolution. New parts don't evolve from old ones, and we have to work well with the parts that have already evolved. Because of this, we should expect compromises, some features that work pretty well, but some not as well as they might, or some features, like the kiwi wing, that don't work at all, but are evolutionary leftovers." Essentially, the mere presence of this unnatural or imperfect design doesn't really align with the ideology of natural selection. This evolutionary leftover has to kind of actively work against the animal's survival to actually be weeded out of the gene pool, and then therefore leave the animal with the superior or better suited trait for the animal's environment. So does the RLN actually hinder function? According to some theories, the presence of this extra distance is not solely due to lack of evolutionary pressures. In fact, in 0.3 to 1% of the human population, the right recurrent laryngeal nerve actually is shortened, but it doesn't make these people better suited for their environment. As mentioned in the Gray's Anatomy textbook, this condition is always associated with abnormal growth of the right subclavian artery from the aortic arch on the left side. This means that a change in normal RLN anatomy can end up with catastrophic effects, as even a small portion of those that present with this non-recurrent laryngeal nerve are also with dysphagia and respiratory difficulties. But that's not all. It's important to note that the larynx is innervated from both sides, above directly by the superior laryngeal nerve and below by the recurrent laryngeal nerve. This double booking is thought to be a form of protection to serve as a safety net in case one of the other nerves become damaged. This idea, of course, is very probable, similar to the way that animals are grouped in survivorship curves. K-curve animals that produce less offspring, have specialized diets, and perform worse with adaptation are impacted by habitat loss and climate change at a far higher rate than R-curved animals, who reproduce in larger numbers and tend to be found in already low-quality environments. All of this just to say that although the recurrent laryngeal nerve presents itself as redundant and evident of poor design, there is proof backing its reasonability and actual use in the body. This blog, written by Casey Luskin on the Idea Center, is a great read if you'd like to take a deeper dive, as it details other theories of the RLN's functions, and is also where I got the majority of the info for this video.